Semi-detached by Liam Hogan. Theirs was a semi-detached planet. She owned the southern hemisphere, and he the north, which suited him just fine, as he always did like to be on top. They moved in at the same time, it being a new build, and relations were initially cordial. Better than cordial, they were warm. And rather than squabble over the single island in the single archipelago that bisected the equator, they decided to share it, and to once a year celebrate their co-ownership of this middle-class commuter belt planet by having a combined party. It was at one of these parties, attended by colleagues, friends, and family, that relations momentarily peaked to a new high. A smile as he slowly poured her champagne glass, a touch of the hand, a glance across the immaculate lawn under the softly setting sun. It was easy to see why. After they had waved their friends into the waiting teleporters, they lingered for a while before calling in the drones to tidy up all evidence of their annual event and of what happened afterwards. But whether it was because he neglected to call within the customary 24 hours, or whether it was for some more blatant transgression, real or imagined, things quickly soured between them. This was not a genie that could be put back into the bottle. This was the harsh insult, the extremely harsh insult, coming from someone they had once been intimate with. Now, things quickly escalated. When she took out his communications satellite with a tightly focused beam of lasers, he was initially incredulous, then shocked, then furious. And it was in this latter state he showed in full 3D hollow splendor before her, her heart momentarily leaping at the sight, until she noticed his rigid posture and dark scowl. "What?" he thundered. "What is the meaning of this... What is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this petty act of vandalism?" She shrugged, masking the hurt she felt inside. "Your satellite was over my airspace." He looked at her, aghast. "Of course it was over your airspace. It's a satellite. They circle the globe." "Mine doesn't," she replied, giving him a withering look. He jerked back in surprise, his face lit up by the monitors blinking the information at him, showing the eccentric high-cost orbit her satellite was maintaining. "And for that matter," she continued, "since you no longer have a working satellite, how is it that we are having this conversation?" He blushed briefly. I thought so," she said, and snapped the communications channel shut. When he returned to her screens once more, it was in a display that jumped and flickered, ghosts of his fractured image twitching in the wings. "How?" she queried, after checking he hadn't been using her hijacked satellite once again. He smiled bitterly. I'm bouncing the signal off the ionized atmosphere. She shook her head. The atmosphere isn't sufficiently... And then she tailed off as her sensors refreshed their data. You exploded a nuke? Just so you can ask me why I shot down your satellite? Now it was his turn to shrug. No, he replied, the pained expression distorted to a death head's mask. I exploded a nuke so I could tell you where the next one is going to land. She shuddered. Surely he wouldn't. It would be murder. Oops, too late, he said, as her earthquake sensors registered the total destruction of the equatorial paradise they had so recently and so intimately shared. Damn you, she screamed. That was my island too. I dropped it on my half. And anyway, I don't think we'll be using it again, do you? I don't care about that, she spluttered, the barb of the lie tugging at her soul. Think of the effect on the resale value! Oh, he paused. A look of disappointment flittered across his stony features. Well, when you put your half of the planet on the market, I'll clean up for the cleanup operation. Deal? I'm not moving. Then there's no need to clean up, is there? 2 nukes in the atmosphere, and he says there's no reason to clean up. What about the air we breathe, you idiot? They were only small, he said, the insult stinging him into one more deceit, an impromptu and unrehearsed falsehood with devastating results. Though I suppose I really ought to mention that the jet stream is carrying the fallout from the first one directly towards you. And then the signal was gone, whether terminated or merely lost to the ionization slowly dissipating. She really couldn't tell. She sat there, the skin on her scalp prickling, her throat scratchy and dry. She was sure it was only her imagination, but it was better to be safe than sorry. How was she to know that the transporter beam would, just like the hollow message, be distorted by the after effects by the stratospheric explosion? The safety override locking the signal while a local teleport engineer was alerted to the easily rectified fault. How was he to know as he in turn beamed into work? That this beam would also be triggered and hopelessly entangled with hers, destined to eternally be described as a lazy figure of 8, high above their shared planet. That, of course, was many years ago, and I wish to reassure you that this was merely a freak accident caused by an early and obsolete form of teleport protocol. Such events would never happen nowadays, and teleportation is still the safest and only way to travel. As mortgage providers with the right to repossession, we have had to wait the required 75 years before we were permitted to apply a random disruption to the carrier beam. That action was carried out this morning. I am legally informed to tell you that the dispersal operative swears, as the final signal of the previous occupants was scattered into the waiting skies, that he saw a part of it linger for a moment, as if it knew what was happening, as if it knew what was about to happen, and thought he heard the beat of 2 hearts and a murmured entreaty in response. Farewell, my love. Farewell. echoing through the static. Pure nonsense, of course. Just the romantic notions of an engineer who watches far too much holovision. And so we turn our attention once again to the matter of the day. You have by now all had a chance to stand upon the fine sands and swam into the warm sea, and to tour all of this delightful planet and its original features out here in this increasingly fashionable eastern quadrant. Well then, shall we begin? Who will start me at 2 million credits?